Hey guys, Fox here, and today we're going to be talking about the USFL and 4 reasons why it might succeed and 4 reasons why it might not. There's less than 30 days till the start of the season, and I feel it's important to actually discuss the reasons why it might and might not succeed. It's hard to say that it will or won't, but I guess we can just start. Let's start with the first reason why it might succeed, and that is the legalized sports gambling rise. This is one that I feel like is kind of obvious. The USFL made a big deal about how 15 states already approved of it. And to put it simply, the market has exploded a ton. According to Fortune.com, the market for legalized sports betting was doubled in size as Americans wagered over $52.7 billion throughout the year on sports. That's a huge deal, and the rise is only going to keep going, especially with stuff like the 34.5 million total viewers that were for Sunday night's divisional playoff game between the Chiefs and Bills. It's no surprise that it's going to get bigger. Because it's not even like every state has legalized it yet. There are states who are legalizing it little by little. And the fact that it's going to be just constantly opened, it's insane. Now again, according to Fortune.com, in New York, legal sports betting officially launched on January 8th. And the state immediately received millions of dollars in wagered bets. According to the New York State Gaming Commission, the 4 available operating books in the state took more than 600 million in the first 2 weeks of operation. That's insane. So the fact that it's a football league and gambling has risen as much as it has and football is being gambled on as much as it is a very good benefit for the USFL. The number 2 reason why the USFL might succeed is the fact that football is the most popular sport in America. I guess gridiron football for those of you non-Americans. Put it simply, it's not even really close. Everyone knows that pretty much every football game gets the most viewership. Every single game has the most amount of people in the stands, considering that they play in a major stadium. I mean, just look at sportsbrowser.net, or just look up most popular sport in the U.S., and every single article has the NFL for everything. I mean, they even call it American football, NFL, most popular sport in the USA. It's insane. And that's despite the fact that around the world, it isn't even like top 4 or top 5 most of the time. But in America, it is the highest. The players get paid a ton, and it has a lot of people. So having a football league that is, in the spring can be a nice benefit to it. The number 3 reason is going to be how hard the USFL is being pushed. It's being pushed even more so than the other leagues were. As, for those of you who don't know, like the AAF happened and the XFL happened, they were not pushed this hard. I mean, Fox has continuously had an article about the USFL 2022, everything you need to know, and I've updated it and called it new every single time they had an update. And then during one of the championship games, there was, of course, the restaurant ad where the dude starts making sense of everything being about football, and then it says, need more football coming in spring. That's something that is a big deal when you have ads like that in very big games that everyone's watching. It shows a lot, and it's a very good thing for the USFL. So, yeah. The last reason is, of course, going to be the fact that it's a recognizable brand-ish. People who were alive 30 years ago when the league actually was around, or I guess like almost 40 now, they're going to remember this league, and they're going to want to watch it. Yeah, it can be considered a bad thing to some people, but overall, having a league that's notable like this is a big deal. The XFL also tried playing off this when it came back, but the XFL originally only lasted 1 year and didn't really produce any players that became household names. No Reggie Whites, no Jim Kellys, and stuff like that. So the fact that you have a new league based off old teams is a very good thing. It's going to immediately cause popularity, and it's going to make a lot of people care about it. Now that we've covered the 4 things that make the USFL might succeed, we got to talk about the 4 things that reason it might not. So first of all, yes, football is the most popular sport in America. But at the same time, during the USFL season, which is from mid-April to like early July, you literally have the NHL and NBA playoffs going on. The MLB start to their season is going on. You have the MLS still going, and you have all of European soccer still going and nearing the end of their season. So you have pretty much, because most people don't really consider the MLS the same as Europe soccer, you have like 5 different leagues, and that's not even considering the fact that European soccer has like 6 different leagues within their leagues that are the major ones. You have every sport pretty much going on at the same time. And not only that, you still have to worry about stuff like the NFL draft and the NFL off-season moves that could happen. You have a ton of things going on at the exact same time. That's the one thing that's going to really hurt the USFL is actually being able to get through all of it at once. I guess we have to find out if they can. Another reason why the USFL might not succeed is going to be due to the backlash over it being, I guess, a reboot. I mean, you already had the original USFL people try to sue them, and considering the fact that there was supposed to be like a pre-injunction date that nothing's really happened, I'm assuming that's pretty much gone under the wind and it's done. But suffice to say, it already got sued by the old USFL, and you have people on Deadspin saying how the new league should just be canned altogether and that's just a major cash grab for football. There are people who are not from Deadspin who believe that, but overall, it's kind of true. There's a lot of people who aren't a fan of the fact that they didn't really mention anything about Sam Mills getting into the Hall of Fame. He was a legend USFL player, and they kind of just didn't do anything because they want to show that they're not to the same thing, which is kind of whack when you do have the same names and stuff. So, kind of weird, but I guess that's kind of what happens. The third reason why the USFL might not succeed is due to the lessening amount of quality players in this league. It's very clear to see that this league is going to have a lot less high-quality players than the other two leagues did, which they didn't have a lot, but there are a couple notable players. First of all, the AAF was able to get Trent Richardson, who, he was out of the league, but he used to be like a third overall pick in the NFL, and it had Johnny Football, which, it's funny, he's a meme, but just like Trent Richardson, he was a very highly touted guy who was in the AAF. So you had those two guys who were big names. And then in terms of the AF and XFL, this is one that gets me, is Josh Johnson. This is a guy that pretty much is clear to say just loves playing football. He's been a backup pretty much his whole career, and he's been in the league since like 2008. He was in both the AAF and XFL as a starting quarterback. And now he's still in the NFL because of one clear thing. Injuries, the rise of injuries. Now, yes, this data is from the NFL directly, so probably true, but it's the NFL, kind of shady. If you look at their major injuries, because they show concussions, ACL, and MCL tears. ACL and MCL tears are basically season-ending injuries. In 2021, there were a total in the regular season of 49, which was 9 more than the year prior. In terms of the playoffs as well, there were 71. Which, remember, if you tear your ACL in the playoffs, you're probably going to miss some time early in the next season, just like Carson Wentz got his ACL tear late in the season in 2017 and ended up missing the first few games. So in total, there were 71 versus last year 51. And then in terms of MCL tears, the number actually went down in the regular season, which is pretty impressive since there was an extra game from 103 to 98. But the playoffs went up from 119 to 128, which is total. Now, there's also not counting the preseason, which the preseason was very different because in 2020, there were no preseason games due to, the pandemic and stuff. There were in total in ACL tears, 11. In 2021, there were 22. That's a big deal. That's literally before the season starts, guys who are done for the year. Then in MCL tears, it went from 16 in 2020 to 30 in 2021. Overall, most numbers have just gone up. And that's not even considering all the other minor injuries and stuff that keep you out for a few weeks. I mean, these are just the stats the NFL shows us. I mean, in terms of concussions, in terms of the preseason, there were 30 last year. There were 52 this year. Season, it went down 7. But when you add in playoffs, it went from 172 to 187. So these rise of injuries require players to be in the league more. There's a reason why Josh Johnson started multiple games during the year. And I'm pretty sure he started for 2 different teams. I mean, it's funny, but that's just what happened. The quality of players are going down a bit in the USFL because the NFL teams are realizing they're no longer needing just an okay backup. They're needing an okay backup for a good backup. I mean, why do you think Gardner Minshew might stay an Eagle? He's literally the best backup in football, and he's probably going to keep being that because the Eagles are well, if Jalen Hurts gets hurt since he's a mobile quarterback, we're not really downgrading a quarterback. That's kind of what it is. And last but not least, for the reason why the USFL might not succeed, and this is probably the most important for both might and might not, is the fact that the last 2 attempts didn't work. So let's put it simply. In 2019, the Alliance of American Football was formed and folded. Then in 2020, the XFL, or the Extreme, or the Extra Fun League, whatever you want to call it, it came and went in 2020. They both literally didn't even last a full season. They didn't even make it to the playoffs. The AAF straight up just ran out of money. They just ran out of money and couldn't keep going. The XFL basically got halted by the pandemic and never recovered from it. Now, yes, I know they're coming back, but this is a new iteration again of the XFL, so it kind of did fail. So that's really the fourth reason why it might not succeed. And overall, those are the 4 reasons why I think it might and might not. This has been ZomFox, and if you enjoy this content and want to be notified as soon as I upload videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Remember to have a great night.